have electricity for lights. We had to use the lamps, and we had to cook by wood stoves. We didn't have electricity to cook by, and we didn't have convenience of having running water. Back then we had to pump the water out the well. Well, the boys would cut the wood, and lots of time I was the one to bring it in for the wood stove. It was hard, but we were happy and content because that's what we knew. We had to do it in the tub. Had to go to the well and get the water. We had to heat the water with a pot with wood around it, and light it with a match. Make a fire around that pot and heat the water to wash with. They had those trucks with those posters on it, and they would throw them posters off on wherever they was gonna put a light post. They'd throw those posters off and leave that, go to the next spot, and then some men would come along afterwards and put the poster up, and then later on they started running electricity.
And in high school, before I finished high school, my junior year, I got out hunting a job, and they were building lines in Choctaw, and I got a job with a right-of-way crew and worked the whole summer cutting right-of-way for the new power lines in the rural area of Choctaw.
Well, we were all excited because we could have a refrigerator and have some ice every day. And it was much better for us after we got a chance to get the electricity. It gave us an electric stove. We didn't have to stand over the heat of the wood stove to do it.
In part of the area, we're just getting electricity, and they were getting electric ranges and even irons that were new to them because they had been heating an iron on a wood stove, I guess, and getting refrigerators and freezers. So we were helping these people to know how to use the appliances. I went to the schools and did demonstrations in the home ec classes. I was going to school at the Mary Home, and we did I remember helping to do the first laundry by electricity as a lesson we went through.
But that was a scary situation that I did see and was part of, setting a pole by hand. Your buddy didn't do just right, he could fall on you.
When I first started, you put a pole and buy an old winch that brought the boom back. You picked the pole up and you stood it straight up, and you backed the truck up and set it in the hole. Took the cable off of it and you canted it and put long pike poles in it to plumb it, and then you fill it with a shovel and hand tamped it.
A regular day was 10 poles, and some were climbing more and some were climbing a lot less.
But when the lights went out, I had to go do whatever the boss man told me to do. I was on the hand line a lot. That was a rope that you pulled whatever your lineman up on the pole needed. A bolt or a cross arm, a pin, even a set of blocks to pull a transformer up. One man had to pull a transformer up.
It's a nervous situation at first, because it was a long time. They say, don't look at your feet, don't look at your feet. And if you ever notice a lot of linemen today, they don't look at their feet, they just climb right up the pole and go to work. And I finally got to where I could do that. And it gives you a good feeling when you climb a pole, just a naked pole, and you're gonna dress it up with all the material that goes on a dead end or a transformer or something like that. And it just gave me a look at me, I'm a lineman.
Well, you got your spikes and hooks, we call them, on your legs, and they're bad to rub on your shin bones right there, real bad. I've climbed them when my legs are bleeding, and just climb on. And I've got two big knots on the bone right there where they wore, just made big knots on your bone. Most linemen will have that. Most poles I ever climbed one day was 23. And that was just up one, put a wire up, come down, next one, and it was June. It was 98 degrees and right alongside the highway in Johnson grass about waist high, and I was walking from pole to pole.
As a cashier, we took in all the money. We talked to the men on the radio, and every district, you could hear everything that was going on because we were all together. And when we talked to our servicemen, Columbus may be talking to their servicemen. And so we did have some funny times. To begin with, we didn't have the equipment that you have now. And the men climbed the pole, and we would have to call them. If we called them, they would come down the pole and answer, and then have to go back up.
Fort County purchased their first bucket truck in 75 or 76, a 46-foot high ranger, and I'm proud to say that I was the first bucket truck operator at Fort County. That made a big difference. It took a lot of strain off some of the linemen when you're in certain bad situations, to where a bucket truck could ease around and, you know, work on the lines hot. And I didn't know anything about doing hot work, but I learned.
Boss, I said, I don't know a whole lot about building no electric lines, but I got a pocket full of experience running machinery. And they started me off. I was the only right-of-way machinery operator that was classified as a machinery operator on right-of-way. I got introduced to a versatile tractor, which you can run it either way. Forward, what would be considered forward or backward. It'll run either way, same speed. I really liked the old versatile. Then we bought a Kendall right-of-way machine from Mr. Kendall over in Atlanta, Georgia, that was the first one he'd ever sold. He built these Kendalls, and he was using them in his contract business, but he never sold one.
It was a cooking show, and I did the recipes, and we started out, I think, with 30 minutes, and then we added on Monday, and then we also had for a short time on Saturday, and then we went to an hour from 4 to 5 on Monday, and that was what it was most of the time. The people at the TV station were very good to work with. Uncle Bunky would, in a way, kind of promote what we were doing, because whenever we finished and he started, he was eating whatever we prepared.
On storm breaks, it really makes you feel good when you get a line up and the folks are sitting there waiting on the lights to come on. And when they come on, you see them grinning from ear to ear. And that'll just about make the hair stand up on the back of your head.
Well, I do think that we were helping people improve their life, their living conditions with electricity, and so many of them were still just getting electricity. At that time, at the beginning, it was always nice to see somebody go from using a wood stove to an electric range.
I really enjoyed my time with Fort County because it was a learning process from the beginning to the end. And like I said, I loved the people, I loved serving them, and I enjoyed our family atmosphere.
It made him feel good knowing he could turn someone's lights on, especially with children. And that gave him a lot of enjoyment. And he loved his crew. He talked about ham bone and all the time. We heard more stories. Of course, it's been so many years, it's hard to remember all of them. And he'd be laughing and laughing and laughing about ham bone did. And he's even talked about JB, and he really thought a lot of JB.
And Cherry.
And Cherry, yeah. And of course, Kelly Wallace. And Dad said he loved them like brothers. He said they were family. And so one thing that stuck out with us was those were his brothers.
I put myself to a test. I said, if if one of the men had got killed, he let it be me.